Okay, so now what I'm going to do is kind of what I was talking about up until now, in which I'm going to start offsetting some of these main movements, some of these main pieces, controls, adding some more detail. I'm essentially now committing to our timing, our posing. I might make some adjustments here. So that they, really feel as if this, both hands come, from one side, get that nice, C shape here. But for the most part, I'm committing, to what we have right now. In fact, I'm going to cut off some of this right here. There we go. I don't like that. I was trying something out. Turns out I didn't like it. Let's give a little bit more of a squash to this. I think we can rotate here. Not that guy. Let's go with this guy. What I want to do is, there we go. Twist that down. Really push. Really squash that. Let's turn that knee, and that knee feels a little odd. Here we go. Let's just take a look right here. Not bad. Okay, so let's do some offsetting. Always start with the main controls or the main body parts. So like right here, we're going to be starting with these hips. And what do I mean by offsetting? Well, the very number one thing that I always think of when I think of offsetting is the hips in relation to the chest. So like right here, the chest and the hips moved up at the same time. They both hit and then they went up. Oh, look at that foot floating right there. Watch out now. To make sure that we watch out. Oh, I see. It was just coming up right here. That might be a bit too much. Well, we'll work on that. But here we go. You see right here the hips and the chest both go up at the same time. This is pretty classic. So what we can do is adjust that so it's just the hips that go up, but the chest still stays down. And the best way we can do that is actually by rotating this character right here, moving the chest down a bit. See, now the hips are coming down, but the chest comes up. And again, that comes down. However, our chest should drag a little bit. So right here, in a little bit of a awkward pose here. And I think it's because this additional hip control is just giving us a little bit of difficulty. So again, zero things out. Totally fine to do that, and that way we can work with it over Totally fine to do that. Always, you know, I always say if you're just having a problem with something, you know, go ahead and just you know, zero it out. It's totally fine, completely fine. I do that a lot. A lot of times I do it, and just because I'm like, you know what, I'm just not really in the mood to be dealing with that. Now, one thing I always do when I am working on offsetting and such is that I don't really mind too much what's going on with the arms or the legs when I look at like the main body parts, the chest and such, because I'm gonna get to it. So one thing I also look at too is, again, main shapes. I see that if I were to look at this big chest piece right here, I go from right here and just in space, boom, pops over just a little bit more, and then it comes back in space. You know, say I grab like an additional window like this outliner window right here. You know, if I were, you know, land here, I'm going to put that like right in the middle of the chest area, you know, in the middle of the face of the head, and use that as just a reference. I'm looking right here, in case you guys don't understand what I'm looking at. Looking right here, you know, this window, this side of this window, I'm just splitting this character in half. And then when I come here, I feel so much more of the characters over there now. And then when it comes back to here, look at that. It goes right back to where it was before. So here, in here, do you see how much that's so much on that one side? This, even though it's just one frame over here, it's going to cause a pop. And I'm going to fix that. I'm going to fix that. Move this guy over so that, here we are. Now, we lose that pop. And I can only do that if I'm animating towards the camera. So again, you know, I'm looking right here, right here. Character comes down, slam. And even right here, I feel as if I go off center just a little bit. I can move that guy over. Let me see what happens if I move this guy over with the hands. And this is really just graphic shapes that are going to be causing that issue for you. So here, there we go. Bang. In fact, maybe it's a little bit too much right there. Over just a little bit. There we go. Again, we have this guide here. There we are. He's right on guide. You see a nice center line going up and down. Okay. So now, again, chest goes down, hips go up, but the head should now also go down. So punch. Maybe we can translate up just a tad. Good. So it's kind of like a shockwave. Hips go down, chest go down. Then it's the same thing going back up. Chest goes down. After. So the hips are now hitting the lowest point right here. This guy should definitely land. Should definitely come to his bottom part after these hips start coming up, which they are. But again, look what's happening right here. So chest comes down, hips come back up, and they settle ever so slightly into this position, but so does my chest. So what I can do is just offset it by a frame and add just a little bit of a drag to it. So think of it. Here we go. That feels a little bit more organic, but I do feel as if, like this part right here, that chest goes down a little too heavy. Feels like it's just a bit too much. And it could be one of two things. It could be that my chest is going up, like it's bouncing off of this part where it hits the ground too much, or it's tipping down too much. I'm going to think it's the drag that I added. So here's a cool tip that I love doing. So the amount that the chest is up, and if you're following, it's this hip goes down, here's the down point, hip goes up, which brings the chest up. It's kind of like a shock wave right there. And then it just sits up a little too high. So what I could do is decrease that drag or bring down the top, how high it goes up. I'm going to try the latter here. I'm going to look at the rotations. Okay. And I'm going to zoom into the part. This will help me right here if I rotate around. Okay. I feel like that part right there. Let's take a look at our curves. It's feeling like it's jumping up a bit too much. So I'm just going to take all these areas right here where there's like this jump, and I'm gonna scale it back. And here's a cool little trick that I like to use. I like to use this feature right here. What that does is that selects everything that I have selected, and I can gradually, uniformly scale things up, down, however I want. So I'm going to bring it back so I can show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to grab everything right here and bring it back. So this is the wrong vector that we're looking at. It's actually right here. Here we go. Let's select these guys right here because this is the part where it bounces back up. There we go. I'm going to bring it down just a hair. So you see now his chest isn't moving up as much as it was before. And maybe I can even scale this part up so it's not bouncing down. Yeah, that's much better. And also, now that I'm getting into this, I used to be, when I first started animating, I looked at the graph editor so much to what I was doing. And if you could just notice, like, I had this little Bezier kind of feeling going on there. I'm just going to get rid of that. I noticed that on this one too. I'm just going to change this curve. And if I zoom in, you can see it even more, like what I'm talking about. It just has this kind of, I'd rather this be a lot more. There we go, uniform coming in and out. So when I first started animating, I was really into always checking, kind of almost animating with the curve editor, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I never got exactly what I was hoping for with my animations, and I think what it was is I was trying to conceptualize what the movement should look like, based off of the curve editor. I'm not saying that you should never look at it, and those that do animate, very, very much with the curve editors, I'm not saying they're doing it wrong. In fact, I am a results-oriented type of director. So if it works, great, cool. That's the way you're supposed to do it. As long as that it looks good in the end, I had a couple of students come to me before and say, they asked me, how do you animate? Do you animate FK or IK? What's the best way of going about it? And I always say the same thing, and it's just whatever looks good in the end, however you get there. I have never looked at a film, a video game, a TV show and say, I bet they did that in FK. Never. If it's good, it's good. And that's all I really care about. So, consider that. Yeah, now that I feel good about the hips and chest area for that land, I'm going to just do a little bit of refining right here when he looks up. I think he should definitely lead with the head. We're a little off right there. Let's get him kind of facing more of. There we go. Facing more of the camera. Cool. So I think he should actually look up a lot sooner. We're going to have him hold his head position here. I think he should look up to the camera before it starts zooming in. And we're actually going to hold and he's going to do this antic where he clenches his fist and look at the camera there. But we're just going to add a little bit of movement or separation between chest and hips and such so it feels more organic. So you see like everything's kind of moving. Let's actually have the shoulders stay where they are, very much in space. Cool. Same thing with the chest. Here to here, we're just gonna pop this up just a little bit. Yeah, so it feels a little bit more organic when it comes to this body here. And just as a polishing note, I still feel that this high point here, this guy is just going a little too far. A little too far to the left. And we can fix that kind of easy here. There we go. There we go. And again, I move this over just to have that nice division so I can see, how things are moving. There we go. Keep it a little bit more in line. You can do the same thing by creating like a grid. That's however you want to do it. I'm a fan of keeping things feel as uniform as possible. So, thinking of it as a graphic shape as opposed to, we can even push that a little bit more. Feel like more like graphic shapes as opposed to really getting worried about anatomy right off the bat. And like I said, results oriented. You know, some people are, you know, much more into, you know, worried about their, you know, working on layers and essentially, you know, kind of hiding arms and legs until they get the body doing exactly what they want. That's totally fine. At the end of the day, it's like it has to just work, you know, and how it has to work the way that it works for you. And that's the biggest thing. Okay, so now that I'm, you know, kind of done looking, you know, at the body and the hips for right now, I'm looking at others like the arm. This arm right here has a little bit of too much. I'm seeing this hand creating a bit of a pop kind of sensation went to it, and I think it's simply because we're going from here we are. We go from this pose, closing the fist, and then back open to this pose. And I think we can eliminate that by just moving. Oops. Didn't want to do that. I'm noticing that I'm holding on to the IK as well. Stop holding on to the IK. I just want the fingers. I actually want to kill that and just move this over. Here we go. Now I'm definitely going to offset some of those fingers and such, and I still feel like that's a bit of a pop that I want to deal with. But first, let me move this back just a little bit so it's not so heavy. There we go. There we go. Okay, the hand is working much better for me now. But maybe just right here, I can adjust it so I'm not so open. And I don't have that much of a change in the rotation here. Like pull that back just a little bit and add it more right here. There we go. That's better. Okay, now I'm going to offset some of the fingers to really heighten. Whoops. There we go. To really emphasize this hand coming through here. So, you know, one really easy way of doing that just kind of off the bat is by grouping them, like with the pinky and ring finger, offsetting those, and then offsetting those so that they're a little bit, you know, dragging behind what the middle finger is doing. And then pushing the index finger to actually be leading. So right there you can kind of see the index and the, there we go. And I'll show you what I mean with the index now leading. And all I did was just I grabbed the pinky and the index, I'm sorry, the pinky and the ring, and I moved it so that it is behind. I just took all the frames and moved them up by one, and I'm going to do the same thing here with the index, but I'm going to start it early. So if I look at this guy, let's get this guy a little bit bigger so we can really focus in on that pinky. I like it right there. I think that's good right there. But I think like certain areas right here, we can kind of just get a little bit of a, you know, kind of like detail. See, that works. Like what I did was, it works. It really does help. It kind of like helps starts things. But, you know, it's always good to get in there and just give a little bit more detail. Like, so like right here, just add a little bit more of a change in shape. There we go. That's cool. I think right here it'll be nice to kind of adjust that pose. Oh, I'm such a fan of finding just these one frames of, you know, the hand to really do something cool with it. So like right here, get this guy to really push out more. Display that out a bit more. Even with the thumb. I'm looking at right here. That's what I'm looking at when I'm doing this. Cool. And I like doing this too. You know, like right here, I feel as if the thumb should really drag behind, you know, when I get to here. I'm a big fan of like that overlapping feel, like having that drag and that last little bit. You know, right here, it would definitely kind of pop back to right here. It's just like that one frame. Maybe even have, you know, since this is going into a fist, I know we said that we can have the pinky, excuse me, the index leading the action, but just a little bit of a change right there. And remember, you know, all pieces of the finger doesn't have to work at the same time. You know, you can add a little bit of drag with the middle knuckles. That always, you know, works really well at the same time. There we go. That felt good. You know, kind of that nice little, almost Machiavellian, like hoo ha ha ha. You know, it gives nice character to the animation. And I think right here we can really emphasize that as well when it goes into this fist. You know, I'm actually going to zoom in right here on my time frame. And what I like to do is, you know, break down this pose right here. And I like to have a bit of some character. And what I'm thinking is that he almost dramatically makes a fist. Very evil villainish. and I'll show you a bit more of what I mean. But first, what I'm going to do is just, get these fingers extended. Definitely not going to look like this. This is just kind of helping me out to derive to that pose. Here we are. Fingers are so important. Okay, so now what I want to be able to see is almost like a fan type of pose here. And I'm kind of searching for it right now. Again, playing to my camera. Maybe add another frame where he settles a bit more into this type of too much. Still too much. What I can do is what I just did was extend the frame. So now the interpolation between this frame and this frame is essentially, kind of half. And then I can, middle mouse button, drag over S, and it splits the difference. Let me see how that feels. Yeah. Very much like the smear frames, what I was doing before, I want to make sure that, graphically, and again, let me grab trusty outliner window over here, and I'm just going to put them, right here to make sure that he's not going above, which he's not, which is good. But now I want to make sure that I also put it right at the tip of the fingers. So if I go here, I want to make sure that he is actually moving away from, moving away from where he was. So it's translated in a very particular way. It's going this way on the screen, from left to right. Yeah, and what I can do is have them settle into that fist after that as well. Yeah, I think those fingers should definitely settle in. Whoops, didn't want to do that. There we go. To here. So let's find a way where we can settle those fingers in there. I think that we should. Here's a useful tip. If you have something on a chain, like this knuckle has these two, you can right click, select hierarchy, and it grabs all the keys from below. And what I'm going to do is just set a key, one more over here, so that I can actually pull this out. And I still want to find something strong. So maybe he's, we get more of like this type of almost really tense. There we go. Oops. Looks like I need to add that key there too. Oopsie daisy, looks like I have a floating key there, in which, look at that, the finger is very broken. Let's move that back there. In fact, let's just make sure that everything's looking okay back here. Oh yeah, looks like we have ourselves a floating key. This happens. that. We can fix that. I wonder if it's an oiler issue or not. It kind of looks like it. What I'm looking at is that this finger's definitely bent. So it looks like it might have been an oiler issue in which we just had a odd type of key that was floating there. But I have a feeling it wasn't. I have a feeling it was just not keyed in the right spot. So let's first do this. Oh, it might be. Might be. Let's run an oiler filter. No, didn't fix it. Okay. So what we can do is just grab all these keys and bring them up. Let's see what happens when we scrub through here. Yeah, we have some. Oh man, looks like that guy got a little out of place. That happens. That happens. Let's see here. If we move this guy down. I wonder what happens. You know, let's do this. We're going to go ahead and just fix this really quick. This is a thing that just happens. Sometimes things get a little lost. Like certain keys would just feel a little their data will just get kind of mixed up in the wrong spot, like what we're seeing with this guy. That's okay. You know, it happens. So we'll just go through and make sure that it's yeah, I think I just fixed it. Okay. Yeah, that happens. You know, again, that's why I like with these, you know, doing these tutorials, if those things, you know, pop up, because, you know, it's, those things, you know, definitely do occur in production. And this is still not really working for me. Oh yeah, then we can change that pose a bit there. No, that's not working for me either. Just not getting that pose that I want. I think I'm gonna have to keep wrestling with it. Yeah, those things happen while in production. Maybe it's the thumb. And you know, you want to be able to find ways of fixing that quick. You know, I'm just not feeling that at all. Let me see if I can find something in here. Maybe it's this too. That's not working. I'm looking kind of for that stair step kind of feel to it. And what do I mean by stair step? You know, if you look at this window right here, I'm going to have this sensation that, here we go. You know, moves down like a stair step, like you're looking at steps. Just a little bit more appealing. Get some drag with the fingers, so it definitely looks like you know, the tips of the finger are pointing in the direction that it just came from. Oh, that's cool. We can rotate in a little bit more right here. There we go. Gives just a little bit more character to the hand when it comes down. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and export the animation. Now keep in mind again that we did shift over our animation and we exported from 100 last time, and we want to include those 64 frames because the clip of animation is still at a certain length, and we just shifted here to match what was in our sequencer file. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I save. That is all up to date. So we started, we did at 100 from before. We're going to start it at 164 so that we match frames. And, you know, I believe we went to like 200 or something, but I'm going to go ahead and add like an additional more because, you know, in this situation, we don't have to worry too much about the amount afterwards, like the tail afterwards, because everything that we have up and, you know, is covered in that amount of time. We can even do, you know, 400 if you want. You know, that part of the animation is not going to be captured. So I'm going to ahead and export this. It does its thing. Oh, you know what? Actually, that's incorrect. I wanted to make sure that we get more than what we actually wanted to do with that. And actually, this is a really good opportunity to point something out. Always want to write stuff down. Always want to write stuff down. Okay, your export is complete. And I notice my math is probably off. Because, or is it off? Is it off? No, it's right. Yep. Yep, it started at the right time. Oh, it's actually started at 163. Let's change that. Let's make sure it says 163 here, just to be 100% correct. And 163. We're going to overwrite the same one. There we go. That lines up exactly with what we did. I'm going to export this animation, bring it on over into Unreal. And I hope you guys remember what I said before, and that was I changed where the location of this character is, and that might mess stuff up. And I hope you guys caught that because we're going to adjust that right now when we get back into Unreal. But it actually really helps us out. It makes things a lot easier with the way that I'm doing it now, and I'm going to explain once we get there. Okay, export is complete. So we're going to go ahead and call this a chapter. We're going to head back into Unreal, get this animation back in there, do a few polishing notes in the Unreal scene, and I'll see you guys over there.